Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It just means that you're scared as hell and ready to face the noise. So, with that said, this next part is kind of like a letter to my past self. To the girl in the back of the crowd who can't speak up. It's okay to be afraid. Know that we hear you, we see you, and we're all in this together. You being here is in itself an act of rebellion, a deafening warrior cry. It takes guts to stand up for what you believe in. My name is Luz. I am undocumented and unafraid, and I am here to stay. My name is Jacqueline Castañeda, and this is an excerpt from my play, Home, which will be part of Breath of Fire's New Works Lab. First time I found about Breath of Fire was actually by scrolling through Facebook. It was about, maybe was it a year or two ago? I'm not even sure, but it was like an off day, and I was just like kind of feeling uninspired. And then I saw a post about a playwriting workshop with Christina Leach. It was just like a one-time only thing, and then I didn't have anything that weekend, so I just went, and I loved it. And then I kind of like took a break, but then I joined again when they had another playwriting series. So because it actually gives folks a space to be creative, and it's like a very welcoming environment. Like, it's actually like a family. Like, I know so many people already, and we barely meet like at one workshop, and we're already like this. It's like a place for artists, really. You just feel free, and yeah, like there should be more spaces like that, especially with the types of people that we have. Like, oh, everybody there. It's just like, yeah. As a kid, like I would always kind of like write little stories, and I even like wrote a novel when I was like 14, and it was something silly, like high school things, and I had this like idea for a screenplay, but it never really was. I didn't have the resources. Like, my family wasn't really, we're working class. We didn't really do things that were kind of creative, and like at school it would be like only performance things that I would be involved in. But once I entered college and once I found Breath of Fire, that's when I really knew that there was a place for me to exercise that muscle that I've never been able to. So the first time I ever met any of the people at Breath of Fire, it was pretty cool because it was about probably 4 people, and then Christina Leach, and it was a really great little meetup. And I remembered it was like a writing prompt that we had to use, like newspapers. And then I just had this story spark in there, and I was so excited, and then I had to share it, and it was great because it's like they all kind of saw that like spark. Like, oh my God, like, oh, look at her. She found something. And when Diana Bourbano had her playwriting series, I think it might have been last year, the first class, it was eye-opening, and I remember riding the bus, because I would get there. I don't have a car. I'd just take public transit. Like, I like taking public transit, and on the way back, I had like this idea that came out, and I just started writing and writing and writing right after I took Diana's first class, and it was amazing. Like, I had this idea all along. Like, it was kind of semi-autobiographical, but not really, and it was just something in that class that day that just like made me, like, you should have seen me like in the bus. I was just like, wah! And like it was 7 p.m. and I was getting off the bus, and I was like, whoa, I have something. I've never had anything before. Like, I never really took a chance on myself. So I guess that's kind of like the awakening that I had. The one that I submitted to the New Works Lab is titled Home, and it is a story about this young Latina named Luz. We find out through the course of the the scene that her father was detained by ICE through a random checkpoint, and we find out that she herself is undocumented. And at first, it's like her fear that comes out, the fear of being found out, the fear of just fear. And then there's a transformation at the end where she uses that fear and takes it and transforms it into something that makes her, it politicizes her in a way that inspires her to stand up to the fear. The idea came about actually in a class I took last semester at Cal State Fullerton. The class was Theater for Social Change, and it was the first time they ever offered it. And it was a very small class. Like at the end of by the middle of the semester, there's only 4 of us. So our professor really got to focus on each and every person, and we each chose something that we wanted, a social topic that we wanted to write about. And for the longest time, like one of the things that I have always been sort of, one of the things I've been passionate about in activism is obviously kind of just the undocumented community, especially right here in Southern California, and how they are affected. And a lot of my friends are undocumented. Some of them are dreamers, some of them aren't. And it's just, it really makes you angry, the type of climate that we're in right now. And I knew that even though I'm just an ally and I'm not undocumented myself, I knew I had to kind of write something. I just felt compelled to share a story. And so I chose to focus on that. And that's how Luce was born. And she, through that class. And then I just took it further, and now she's kind of followed me. Well, personally, I'm kind of tired of being just complicit and in a weird way, I don't know, like it's a form of revolution, I believe, for me. And I mean, not all plays have to be serious, and not all plays have to be about something, controversial or anything. But I feel that when we make that choice to go there, that kind of, it says something. I want the audience to feel like they can actually make change. Because a lot of the time in this society, I feel like people are often scared to voice their opinions, especially for people for people of color, for a lot of undocumented folks. They don't have, I don't know, like I want people to realize that there's people out here right now that are actually going through a lot of things, and this is our home. Like, America is supposed to be the land of the free, like the land of opportunity, and yet we treat each other in a way that doesn't make sense to me. And if anything, I guess I want the audience to reflect on the climate, the current political climate, and what they can do. And honestly, like, to be an activist, you don't have to be out on the streets and carrying signs and doing the fists and screaming. Like, you can do your activism in whatever way you want. You could do it through art, through writing, in the classroom. You don't have to be one way to practice activism. I don't know, we're all capable of speaking out and standing up for what's right. And even if change isn't coming soon or at a fast rate that we want it to, it's happening. And the more that we speak up, it'll speak volumes. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I just want, at the end of the day, to be on the right side of history. And with this piece, I feel like it could be something that could kind of just motivate someone to to educate themselves and to be an advocate and be an ally, or to stand up and share their story. Bilingual plays kind of, it's really nice to see yourself represented on stage and in a genuine way. It makes you connect with the story and with the characters a lot more. And when I was growing up, I never really was exposed to any bilingual plays at all. And at the times that I was, it was always kind of in a forced way or something. But now I think playwrights are kind of owning our culture, and we're owning our language, and we don't have to ask permission anymore, or we never really did in the first place. Like, it just feels nice to be able to share our culture. And it's kind of nice, like for me, I'm also an actress, and recently I did a play where it was one of Federico Garcia Lorca's plays, Bodas de Sangre, and it was performed almost entirely in Spanish. And that was just so beautiful to be able to like produce something that my parents and my family can go see and they can understand and they can enjoy. Because a lot of theater, even though, well, like in my experience, it's not as inclusive as it can be. And by including these bilingual plays, by having all these types of stories on stage, we can broaden our audience like tenfold. It's a way to bring people in. Being a theater person, I've kind of experienced different spaces, like in education and like other, outside venues, and none of them compare, honestly. Like, and not to knock down any of the places I've been involved in, but it's just this willingness to allow people to work through it. But you're not there alone. Breath of Fire, like when you're at one of our workshops or one of our events, it's just, you never feel alone. Breath of Fire has always been conscious of the community, of who we're serving. We see that there's a need for theater. Theater is something that should be shared with. It's a beautiful thing to witness. And with the types of workshops that we do, it's not just playwriting. We also do, I think there was one of my good friends, Natalia, she did a workshop that was self-care and heart work. And it's more like restorative, and a lot of people that come to our workshops that aren't really necessarily Breath of Fire Ensemble members, they come in and they don't know what's going on at first, and they're just really open-minded, and then they leave feeling so inspired and rejuvenated, and they just feel this creative flow coming out, and you see it coming out too, and that's the beauty of it. We had this last summer, we had a back-to-back series of workshops, and most of the people that stayed for one workshop stayed for till the end of the day, and some people weren't even part of us before. So it's just kind of, it kind of goes to show that at Breath of Fire, you're just come and be yourself and be willing to receive and create, and the results are just gonna, I mean, honestly, like just being there is a little piece of paradise. One of the reasons why you should go to the Breath of Fire New Works Lab is because it's vibrant and exciting and fun and creative, and some things are just gonna grab you, and you may laugh and you may cry, but you're gonna feel a whole range of emotions.